What is going on, Twintendo Nation? Hope you're having an awesome day. And today I've got another Pokemon Go video, but unfortunately we don't have much news of late, so I'm going to have to kind of make a filler video, and this is my top 10 hopes for Pokemon Go. Now these are just my opinions, guys, so obviously if yours are completely different, that is completely fine. Comment down below, by the way, your top 10 hopes. And also remember, guys, I've got a Q&A coming up. This is the last time I'm just going to mention it. If you've got any questions for the Q&A, definitely comment down below and I'll pick the best ones and I'll obviously make the video on it. Also, just to point out, guys, at the time of making this video, all we know about Pokemon Go so far is the first reveal trailer and that there will be gyms and teams. So if you're kind of watching this video late, there might be a few things on this list that actually do get announced. Or, you know, none of them could actually get announced, you never know. But I'm just saying, keep that in mind. Definitely check the date if you're quite late to watching this video. But anyway, let's jump in to the top 10 list. So at number 10 I have something that's pretty interesting, and I've seen people mention weather-based Pokemon, but I think something more realistic would probably be time-based Pokemon. So I think if the game can keep track of your location, then surely it could know what time it is where you are. For example, I live in England. If the game knows I'm actually in England, they should probably be able to tell what time it is, because it'll be different all around the world, obviously. So it'd be really cool if once it turned to night, Ghost and Dark Pokemon will come out. Or, you know, nocturnal Pokemon like Noctowl will be available. That would be really cool. Again, it would add to the realism. And it would also give kind of like a justifiable place for Ghost and Dark Pokemon to be. Now, I know this game is kind of aimed at kids, and it would make sense that they probably wouldn't do this, just because obviously you don't want kids running around at night looking for Pokemon. It is a bit stupid, that. But, I mean, you know, in winter, obviously it does go dark quickly. It would probably be the best time to catch, you know, Ghost and Dark Pokemon, and it's still quite early in the day. But I mean, if it's summer and we're thinking like this is probably going to get a summer release, Pokemon Go, it probably wouldn't be wise. You'd probably have to wait till like 11 PM for it to go dark, and I just couldn't imagine kids being up that late. So I don't know, it's one that I'd like them to include, but again, I won't be too disappointed if they don't include it. But anyway, let's move on to number 9. So for number 9 I've got character customization. Now we've seen in the trailers how there are like pixel trainer sprites next to some of the Pokemon. However, we don't know if customization is actually in the game, and if it is, how detailed it is. With Pokemon Go being available to a wide variety of people, it would be great if we could adjust the trainer's age for like the first time. I'd love to see customizing your age, your height, all sorts really, instead of just like clothing and hairstyles. I think it really needs to go in depth, and hopefully that's something we'll see in later Pokemon games, because I think the option of customizing your trainer's age has been really long overdue, and hopefully we'll see it in Pokemon Go. Coming in at number 8 we have online trading and battling. Although I like the idea of battling and trading locally, since it is kind of more realistic and that's kind of what Pokemon Go is going for, there will be many people who have no one to trade and battle with. So I'm kind of lucky I live in a city and there will be a lot of people for me to play Pokemon Go with. But at the same time, there are going to be people who aren't as fortunate as me, and they won't really be able to play with other people. So I think online trading and battling is a really good way to kind of appease some fans who can't play with others locally. But for me, I do want to focus locally. I do want it to be quite realistic. So for me, online battling would be fine, as you can test the strength of your team. It's a good way to test, you know, how strong your team is. Maybe you want to make some improvements before you actually do have any local tournaments with your friends, or maybe there are official local tournaments, we don't know yet. And online trading is the only one that I'm a bit on the fence about. I don't know, because it could become a bit unbalanced if you were just abusing it and obtaining every single Pokemon around the world. What's the point of going outside and trying to catch these Pokemon? So I'm not sure if they could balance that. I think it would take out the fun of catching Pokemon. Maybe they could balance it out for like one online trade a day. I don't know. It's something that I'm not sure about, guys. Let me know in the comments what you think about online trading. Should it be in the game or not? And anyway, we're going to move on to number 7. And number 7, I have picked shiny Pokemon. Now, unfortunately, shiny Pokemon are becoming a bit more common nowadays. They used to be incredibly rare, and it was the most amazing thing when you caught one. Nowadays, you could probably catch a shiny Pokemon every day if you really wanted to. Probably even more than that. You could probably catch 5 a day if you wanted. And I do think shiny Pokemon are going to be quite difficult to obtain if they are in Pokemon Go, because by the sounds of it, Pokemon themselves are going to be pretty hard to obtain in this game. And I think it would be really cool if you did get a shiny Pokemon in this game, because I really don't think there will be many people with shiny Pokemon. You think about how hard it is to get these Pokemon, you probably have to walk a while to find a Pokemon. I mean, they say in their interview you'll find a Pokemon every around 5 minutes, whereas, you know, you could probably find about 10 Pokemon in 5 minutes in a game. That's what I mean, it's going to be a bit more difficult to find a Pokemon. I think having a shiny Pokemon, not only would it probably be very unique, I really don't think many people would have one, but if you didn't even want it, just trade it away. You could probably get anything you wanted on the online trading. That is, if there is any online trading, or just locally, you could probably ask for anything and probably get that in return. So shiny Pokemon, I think they have to be in the game, just because they make shiny hunting really fun again, and just to see people's reactions playing Pokemon Go live and finding shiny Pokemon. I mean, I'd definitely go out and play Pokemon Go a bit more if I knew shiny Pokemon were in the game, because obviously stumbling across a shiny Pokemon outside in the wild would be, like I said many times, ridiculous. It'd be awesome. So anyway, that is number 7. But anyway, we're going to move on to number 6, and I've gone for events. Now, if Pokemon Go was anything like Niantic Labs' past game, which was Ingress, as you guys probably know, then we know there are going to be a lot of worldwide events. They've had so many in like various different countries. Whatever country you're living in, they've probably had an event there. You can check on their website as well on past events, but it would be amazing to have Pokemon events around the world in many different cities. Obviously, I think the bigger cities would have, the big events, like cities like New York, London, places like that. But it would be great to meet lots of new Pokemon trainers, make new friends, all sorts. And I think not only do we want to see real life events like these and what Ingress had, I'd also like to see in-game events, maybe weekly events such as missions and objectives that you could carry out and that would earn you, I don't know, maybe an evolution item or some form of currency if Pokemon Go does have a currency in the game. Or, there could be events going on such as migrating Pokemon arriving in your area. I think that would be really cool. It would kind of give a lot of players a reason to go back on Pokemon Go, keep checking every week, just keep people playing. I think it's a really good idea to just keep the game alive. I'm not saying it would die after a year or so. I think this game is going to be very successful and played a lot if they tick the right boxes. If it's anything like Ingress, then which people have been playing for years, guys, and this is a game which is very good, but Pokemon has a massive backing, much more than Ingress, so I feel like this game is going to be around for a long time, whether people like it or not. But anyway, let's move on to number 5, guys, and this I've gone for clans or factions. Now, this is kind of like just basically teams. We know that teams are going to be in the game, but we don't know to what extent or how they're going to be included. So it would be cool if you could join local or worldwide teams, perhaps. So, for example, you could join teams on a national scale and see which team is the strongest or most efficient at catching Pokemon in your country. So, for example, I live in England, like I've said. There could be multiple teams, there could be only a few, but you could join them and obviously kind of compete throughout the country. Whoever's the strongest, I don't know how you measure strength, maybe amount of battles you've won, or in terms of catching Pokemon, obviously which team with the amount of people who have caught the most Pokemon. I think that would be really cool. It definitely give a competitive edge to Pokemon Go. And obviously on a worldwide scale, you could compete with many different people in many different countries. So for example, there could be like 2 to 6 teams you could join worldwide, and these teams could be like Team Rocket, Magma, Aqua, Galactic, Plasma, Flare, all those kind of teams. And you could compete with the other teams to see which team is the world's best. I think that'd be really, really cool. And you'd also kind of like to see how you rank individually within these teams, whether it's nationally or worldwide. And this actually leads us to number 4, which is leaderboards and rankings. Now, I play a lot of games, and most games nowadays online have a leaderboard or a ranking system, and it'd be really cool to see how you rank among other trainers, whether this be nationally and worldwide or like on a weekly and monthly basis. Because as a kid, when I used to play Pokemon, I used to say, oh, I'm the best at my school, or I'm probably the best in like the county I'm from in England, and I never really knew if I was the best, to be honest. But Pokemon Go has the potential to actually allow trainers to know how good they are at the game. By implementing a leaderboard or a ranking system, trainers can actually brag to their friends saying, yeah, I'm the best in, wherever they're from, or they could say, I'm ranked like 67th in the world, beat that, guys. It would be very, very cool, and it's just a way to keep the game competitive, keep people going back on if they do enjoy leaderboards and rankings. And what would also be really, really cool is if the higher the rank you are, you could also earn titles, for example, gym leader, ace trainer, stuff like that. I think that would be a really cool way to kind of earn respect among other Pokemon trainers. But that's just my opinion, guys. But anyway, let's move on to number 3, and this is something that's really, really important for me, and this is balanced microtransactions. So we know the game is going to have microtransactions. No matter how much we don't want them in, we're just going to have to accept that they're going to be included in the game. Because the game is free to play, microtransactions will be in there some form. However, my worst fear for Pokemon Go is for players to buy their way to the top, also known as pay to win. I'm fine with microtransactions being used for like trainer customization and certain items, but I don't want people to be able to buy Pokemon or anything like that. That would just ruin the game completely. People would just buy the Pokemon they want, be, you know, obviously get a really strong team, climb the leaderboards and rankings, the hypothetical leaderboards and rankings, and it just wouldn't be fair. I think I'd definitely not play Pokemon Go if people could just do that, because what's the point? You're out there trying to catch some really good Pokemon, you put hard work in, and people are just spending money. I mean, I could spend money and get to the top, but where's the fun in that? So I'm not saying this is going to happen, I'm just not wanting it to happen. If they balance microtransactions, that's fine. I don't mind paying for certain items, like I've said, whether it be Pokeballs or anything really, as long as it's, you know, fair enough on other players who don't want to pay anything. As long as they balance it out, I'm sure it's going to be fine. But moving on to point 2, this is continuous updates. So with the recent announcement of Magearna, which is potentially a 7th generation Pokemon, we don't know yet, but let's just say for now that Magearna is a 7th generation Pokemon, I would like Pokemon Go to be constantly updated with new Pokemon, Mega Evolutions, items, you know, whenever a new main Pokemon game comes out. I think Pokemon Go should also receive a similar update. So, you know, because this is a game that's going to be played for years. This isn't going to be like, oh yeah, wait next year for Pokemon Go 2 or Pokemon Go XYZ, whatever. That's not going to happen. Pokemon Go is going to be on the App Store for a long time. People are going to be playing it for a long time, like Ingress. And so it should get constant updates with whatever's included in the new main Pokemon games. Because it's a game we're going to be playing for years, not months. And I just think, I mean, I think it will happen. I think continuous updates, they will do that, because Ingress has been updated. Again, there's no reason why Pokemon Go shouldn't be. And updates and events, like I mentioned earlier, will definitely keep the game fresh and not go stale, and just keep players continuing their journey really as Pokemon trainers. So that is number 2, guys. But moving on to our number 1 spot, this is one that probably isn't too surprising, and this is to include every single Pokemon in the game. So it hasn't actually been announced yet, which is the surprising thing. There has actually been no announcement from Niantic Labs or Nintendo that all 720, or I guess 722 if you include Volcanion and Magearna, but they haven't, you know, announced that. They've only shown the first reveal trailer, which had the 151 Pokemon, the original Pokemon is what I meant to say, the Kanto Pokemon. There were no signs of any other generations there. We've had hints, but like no official confirmation. Now, we've also had an interview with the head of Niantic Labs. Again, there were no information about the amount of Pokemon in Pokemon Go. And we've also had the Game Developer Conference announcement for Pokemon Go, and they kind of mentioned or hinted at potentially more than just the 151 Pokemon being in the game, because they said setting its hundreds of brightly coloured monsters loose across the globe, which, you know, obviously that could just mean the 151 Pokemon, but I don't know, I just feel like there would be no point of including just the original Pokemon. I feel like everyone would be happy if every single Pokemon would be included. There could be no complaints. So that's my number 1, guys. Niantic Labs, don't let me down. I'd like to see all of these included, especially number 1. I wouldn't really care if none of these were included apart from number 1. As long as number 1, which is include every single Pokemon, is in Pokemon Go, then I'm hyped, guys. That's all I'm waiting for. That's the announcement I'm waiting for. But anyway, that is my top 10 list, guys. What is yours? Definitely comment down below if you have any other suggestions, such as maybe breeding, becoming a gym leader. They were ones that I were going to include, but I don't know, I just thought these were ones I'd like to talk about a bit more. And also, guys, remember the Q&A. This is the last time I'm going to mention it. If you've got any questions you want to ask me, comment down below. And if you haven't seen my 2 previous videos, guys, they're on screen now. Definitely click on them if you're interested. And if you haven't subscribed already, then you're missing out, because I'm keeping you guys up to date with Pokemon Go all the time, and I've got loads planned for next month with Pokémon coming out. And I also want to make a few videos on Generation 7, because we've obviously had Magearna announced recently. So I've got a few videos I want to talk about on that, so if you do want to watch any of those videos I mentioned, click that subscribe button. But anyway, guys, I've been Twintendo. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I will see you on the next one. Peace!